David Benavidez reacts to Canelo versus Saunders outcome, and he really believes he has what it takes to beat Canelo in the 18-foot ring. We're going to talk about all that in this video. Stay tuned. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to my channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you love what I'm doing, the content, I drop daily boxing videos, talk about the fighters' shape, what type of shape they're in, Ego Weight Watchers, upcoming fights, breakdowns, post-fight breakdowns, lives, and more. If you're into that kind of thing and want to know all things boxing, this is your one-stop shop. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and also hit the like button. Hit the bell notification so you receive post notifications and you do not miss a thing. Now, recently, Canelo Alvarez faced off against Billy Joe Saunders. For me, I picked Canelo to win. I said stoppage round 8 to 10, and that was accurate. Billy Joe Saunders was forced to retire on the stool. He got his eyes shattered, and Canelo picked up another victory and another belt. David Benavidez, an interested spectator, is definitely confident, and he's been telling the world he wants to fight the best, from Canelo Alvarez to Caleb Plant to even Jermall Charlo if he wants to move up. Regarding Canelo Alvarez, David Benavidez says he thinks he can beat Canelo. He says, quote, "I feel I could beat Canelo Alvarez. I saw a lot of things during that fight with Billy Joe Saunders that I know I could take advantage of. Canelo's opponents, the last ones, didn't have power. I have the goods to give Canelo a great fight. I've got a great jab, great body shots, great speed, and I put a lot of pressure too. I feel like that's the type of fighter Canelo is. He hasn't had an opponent give him trouble like that, and they all kind of seem to be defeated. They come in there already beaten. With me, it's going to be the exact opposite. I have a lot of confidence. I'm very motivated in myself, and I know I'm going to be the one that beats Canelo." He continues, "I know a lot of people think Canelo will beat me, but that just makes me want to work harder to get the victory and shut all the haters up. I'm just excited and waiting for my opportunity. I don't care where I fight him. I just want to get in the ring with him. Texas would be great. That would be a dream fight, to fight Canelo in front of 73,000 people. You got two Mexican fighters. I don't see why we wouldn't be able to fill the stadium out." He says, "I don't get backed up too much. That's the thing about me. I don't let people push me to the ropes. Canelo can try. I'd love to see him try. I feel the difference between me and the other guys he's fought is that I'm more powerful. We just have to see how he reacts to the punches. I know that if I hit someone on the sweet spot, it doesn't matter who he is. If I hit him with the right body shot, the right hook or uppercuts, I know I could hurt that guy. Another thing with me too, I have a good jab. Canelo hasn't fought anyone with a good jab lately, and that's why Canelo can do whatever he wants to do, because no one keeps him off of them. Nobody throws a jab, nobody keeps him at distance. My jab is like a right hand. I hurt people with jabs. I know a lot of things I can potentially do to hurt Canelo. I'm very confident about what I can do." Wow. Listen, told you guys for a while, there are a couple key fights that Canelo should fight, and guys that, mark my words, I've said the same thing. Even if Canelo can beat them, you will see a difference in the quality of fight and the effort made by that B side. So we'll say Canelo's the A side versus anybody, unless it's Floyd Mayweather or something. So against most guys, Canelo Alvarez is the A side. But if Canelo were to fight the guys that I've listed, you will see competitive fights. I'm certain of that. Win, lose, or draw, no matter what happens, you will see more competitive fights. It won't be like Caleb Smith and he just gets pummeled and nose bleeding and arms swole all up. These are the guys that I want to see him fight. No particular order. David Benavidez, Jermall Charlo, Caleb Plant would be nice, and also Demetrius Andrade would be cool. if he wants to move up to 168. But more so the other guys that I mentioned. I did want to see the Andrade fight a lot at 54 and 60, but Andrade, he hasn't just really been super active. And I think branding wise, I just think the other guys have like raised their brand and level of competition and stuff. So those are some of the fights stylistically and branding wise for big events that I would prefer. I would also say Artur Beterbiev, but he's at 175 and I don't think he can come down. And I doubt Canelo would want to go up to 175. So regarding David Benavidez, I told you I'm a big fan of David Benavidez. Cool dude, monster in the ring, very confident. There's a lot of people, like Roger Mayweather said, that don't know anything about boxing. And they're going to say, oh, Canelo destroys everybody easy. But I don't think that's the case. Again, if you actually know boxing, Canelo is a terrific fighter. I don't think there's anyone, even his peers, other fighters, they say that Canelo's a beast and he got skill. So no one really denies that. However, let's put it in true perspective, like no one else can do but your boy Ego. If you look at Canelo and his biggest, toughest fights on paper, all of those fights are pretty competitive, where Canelo is not showing the ultimate poise and one-sided non-stop beatdowns. For example, you have to look at it. Old media told you that Caleb Smith was the truth. Eddie Hearn and people like that told you Caleb Smith. You have never heard me say Caleb Smith is the number one guy to beat. In fact, his performance right before Canelo, I thought he lost to John Ryder. So that, coupled with the fact that he was kind of inexperienced at the big, big fight, when you're in the big leagues when you fight Canelo. Bigger event, a lot of cameras, bigger media day than a guy like a British fighter like Caleb Smith would be used to. You know what I mean? So you have to get all your emotions and stuff if you don't have big fight experience, and you have to remain calm and keep calm and remain poised and stuff like that. So old media is the one telling you that Caleb Smith was the best at 168, or saying Billy Joe Saunders could beat him. I ain't never said that. So, like I said, a lot of people don't know ish about boxing. Guys that I think give Canelo the biggest fight and challenges are the guys that I told you, like David Benavidez, like Jamal Charlo. And David Benavidez brought up literally the same point that I've been telling you, is Canelo is staying, he's on this like European tour or whatever, fighting Elton John and Austin Powers and U2 and all these people. And you could give some credit just based on the fact that at the current moment they're still top 5 people, champions, but they're still not the styles that give Canelo the most problems. See, the thing is, Eddie Reynoso is an amazing trainer. He's a good trainer. So much so that I believe he knows his pupil and he knows what fights are out there are tougher. That's why they front on David Benavidez, stuff like that. You seen Andy Ruiz, another Eddie Reynoso fighter, recently get dropped by Chris Arreola, who's 40 years old. That being said, after post-fight, Eddie Reynoso, regarding his other student, Andy Ruiz, he came clean because he's been working with Canelo the longest, so I would say he has the strongest relationship with Canelo. But after the Andy Ruiz fight, where he got dropped by 40-year-old Arreola, that a lot of people thought was, gonna get steamrolled or dog walked, which didn't happen. Eddie Reynoso kept it real and said we would have to train really hard, and basically I don't know if we would be ready for the Deontay Wilder fight. We'd have to really prepare for that fight. So he kept it real in that instant. But when it comes to Canelo Alvarez, he's the face of the gym. He's the big brother to little Ryan and stuff like that. And I think behind closed doors, Eddie Reynoso knows what fight. He watches Canelo spar. He's known him since he was a kid, so he knows his deficiencies and what he's good at. People have said Canelo has knee problems, stuff like that. So these are things he would be privy to. And you notice with this European tour, in my opinion, that's because they know what styles give them the most problem. They would rather fight Kovalev, who almost got stopped by Anthony Yarde, than to fight Artur Beterbiev, who all knockouts, 100% knockouts, and appeared to be fresher. And he's a big, strong, big puncher, beat Kovalev in the amateurs twice, motivated and fresher. This is what Team Canelo has famously done. They've picked on guys coming off of bad performance, which is funny and ironic because when it comes to Floyd Mayweather, people said the polar opposite. When it comes to Floyd Mayweather, people said they hated Floyd because he was a cherry picker and he waited for guys to get old. But if you actually look at who he fought and when he fought him, that wasn't the case. Cotto had just avenged his first ever loss to Margarito, and he stopped him. So that was vindication for Miguel Cotto, and then Floyd fought him next. Margarito also got destroyed after trying to cheat Shane Mosley, and that fight, Mosley stopped Margarito in a fight that some people didn't think he was going to win. Then he fought Floyd. De La Hoya was the man, illustrious career. And then he fought Floyd. Ricky Hatton was undefeated. Canelo was coming off the trout and he was undefeated, etc., etc. But as I mentioned in this video, when it comes to Canelo, Billy Joe Saunders didn't look good versus Martin Murray. And his fight before that, he looked poor. Marcelo Esteban Corceres on the YouTube undercard, KSI Logan Paul. Again, some of y'all don't know y'all boxing. Caleb Smith, his opponent before that. He really should have lost to John Ryder. He even got booed at home. That tells you something. His next fight was during the pandemic, so Caleb Smith got late notice, they said, and then he got tore up by Canelo. Before that, Kovalev almost got stopped by Yarde. Quick turnaround, Canelo, plus rehydration clauses, yada, yada, yada. A guy like David Benavidez, that's different. If he's making weight, then it's going to be a problem because he has a different style. And I think Eddie Reynoso knows what Canelo does well with, and they keep him away from certain styles. To me, that style is more of an American style. Guys who can match Canelo both with wits. They have some good wits and common sense and ring generalship themselves, but also, and more importantly, athletic guys. Just like David Benavidez is saying, he has a great jab. So people who possess fundamentals, some wits, ring generalship, and also athleticism and power. If you have those things, then the fights tend to look different because you look at it. Old media told you all these British fighters and Turkish fighters and Eastern European fighters were the ones that were going to give Canelo the most threatening fight. But out of Kovalev, Caleb Smith, Avni Yildirim, and Billy Joe Saunders, they all got stopped or beat up for every second of the round. Meanwhile, what I'm telling you, the black American fighter that he fought, Danny Jacobs at 160, actually won rounds and won second half late in the fight, was winning rounds and landing big shots on Canelo Alvarez. I don't know why he started so slow. Maybe it was just the aura of Canelo. But when he worked himself into the fight, he made it a pretty close fight. Never was hurt, never was dropped, etc. So can you imagine if you're going 12 rounds with Danny Jacobs, who is a great fighter, but for whatever reason he started off slow? David Benavidez is at 168, so he's a bigger dude, hits hard, hits like a mule, and he throws these creative, crazy combinations and has a good jab. And he probably won't, he's not been a notoriously slow starter like Danny Jacobs did in that particular fight. You see what I'm saying? Danny Jacobs was coming off a very tough schedule with Derevyanchenko and stuff like that, and Golovkin, tough fights. So I agree. David Benavidez is definitely a test. Jermall Charlo, everybody that I said, those are all tests. Even Caleb Plant's a test, but I think Jermall Charlo and David Benavidez are like probably the top two stylistic fights that I would want to see for Canelo, because I think they have a different level of aggression. athleticism and power. Caleb Plant, I still want to see that fight, but you know, I really want to see how how his defense looks against someone with hand speed to match him, like David Benavidez. A jab and a long jab like Jermall Charlo and David Benavidez versus Canelo with shorter arms. You know, he's going to have to be switched on and dialed on. So there's a lot of people, like I said, that don't know ish about boxing, and they're basing this off of how Canelo's look, but styles make fights. And if you modify the style that you are facing, then you can, in essence, game the system. And when you're a great fighter yourself and a disciplined fighter, and you're A-side, so you have different advantages and crowd favor and when you walk second and stuff like that, then you're able to almost predict or have a better chance of predicting the outcome to your fight, you know, and put yourself in more of a chance to win. I think David Benavidez and Jermall Charlo stylistically give Canelo a sluggish, hellish fight. That's just my opinion. So I agree. And I think a lot of it is the aggression, but precision and smarts about it in terms of the execution and the power. They got some rhythm, some hand speed, just different stuff like that. But maybe I'll talk about it more in another video. I want to see the fights, point blank, period. Benavidez sounds stupid confident that he could beat Canelo. I want to see it. And Canelo's a Mexican fighter. He's a Mexican fighter. Canelo said he wants to fight in the quote-unquote Mexican dates. Makes all the sense in the world. But, you know, it looks like David Benavidez will keep getting fronted off because he's a certified problem and a certified threat. And I don't think Canelo's team, you know, they know it. They know he's a threat. That's the point blank, period. And the fact that Canelo's never sparred with David Benavidez or nothing. Benavidez has sparred with top dudes when he was young, like teenager, sparring Kelly Pavlik and Triple G and Zordo Ramirez. So I think that'd be a great fight. And when he says he's that confident, I believe him. He's worked with the best in the world, sparring or not sparring. I heard about some of his sparring, people that were there, like the Zordo Ramirez, and I heard what happened. And I heard they were legendary. So I can't wait to see David Benavidez start getting some of the big names that he's looking for. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. We working. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We working.